allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I guess in terms of roll call, we have 6 of our 7 members here today. Mark is missing, maybe joining later, but plenty of quorum for us to go ahead. I guess we'll start with approval of the minutes from, well, let's talk agenda first. So the agenda on old business, we're gonna handle some follow-ups on the administration building we had discussed in the last meeting. So we'll go to that. Then in new business, we have discussion on 2024 budget, the 21-22 audit results. In there, we'll have open question time for anybody who has questions that they didn't submit earlier. I'll give a little bit of introduction on that process for the new committee members when we get there. And that will do it for us. I guess, so any additions to the agenda? Everybody okay to approve this one?
Motion to approve it.
All right. Agenda's approved. Prior minutes, anybody have any questions or issues from reading through them? Yes, sir.
So did we get anywhere with the parks manager thing? A parks manager is needed, but there's nothing in the budget for it. Am I reading that right?
I think that's one question that we asked ahead, so let's cover that when we get into the 2024 budget review. Does that work for you?
Huh?
Okay.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Mr. Reyes? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. That does it for the minutes. So let's go to old business on the administration building. Kim, Joe, maybe I'll turn it over to you. I think the last time we talked, you were waiting for some initial design estimates and to get some ideas about what you wanted to do. So to my knowledge, nobody on the committee has heard any updates since then. So maybe if you can start from there and go through the latest thinking you've got on how you suggest to proceed.
We have been working with Morton Buildings, and so they have come up with a couple design options, and nobody liked the design options, so we went back to the drawing board, and they like a building, the board likes the building, I guess it looks more like this. So we asked Morton, what I did is I had him send me the plans, and then I just marked it up how I thought we would fit into that building. And then they're supposed to have revisions back to me by the end of this week.
And Kim, that building would be here?
Yes. So this building would be gone, this building would be gone, and it'd
Right.
bit, like sit, towards the street and.
Right.
Do you mind passing the picture around?
Sure.
I'm sure everybody probably wants to take a look at
And
it.
where will you guys reside during the deconstruction and construction?
We can move over to the safety center if we have to.
If you have to, where else would you? Like, you're gonna have a picnic
Well, I
out
was
in the
hoping
park?
that they could
Cemetery, but
build
I don't think that's a good place.
I was hoping they could build it in between both of our buildings, and we only have to move, like if they have to tear one down, then we all move into the same building, and then we move back,
Like the Reds did.
yes.
Yeah, exactly.
The wedge.
Sycamore
The wedge.
Schools did the same. Yeah.
Wedge play.
That's what I was hoping to do. Now, if
That's a
it
good
can't
one.
work that way, then it can't work that way, and then we just figure it out.
Well, then you only move once.
Yeah.
It would be dependent upon the construction
Yep.
site. Parking lot was needed.
Yep. Here's another picture.
Did they
So-
share dollar amounts associated with these drawings yet?
No.
And we still don't know how we're gonna fund all
We
of
have some money available, like we have some ARP money left, and we have some TIF money that we were gonna put towards it. I did talk to Andy Brozart, which is our financial, he's a consultant and I shared with him, our finances and told him, here's how we think we wanna do it, but you need to tell me from a finance perspective, does that make sense? Does it make sense putting down a deposit on a building, or does it make sense just to finance the whole thing and use our money for some totally different reason?
How much ARP
It's a little over 500,000.
and how much TIF?
500,000.
That's
Yeah.
a good start.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So
So what's the timeline in terms of, can you go back to maybe when you'll get back any further information on this? Do they have a timeline on when we would get dollar estimates and what that would look like?
They'll get me revisions by the end of the week, and then hopefully if the board likes what they did, then we can move forward with what it'll cost us. I think we were just having a hard time getting everybody to agree on what it should look like and that.
So the same firm would do the next step in engineering of.
Right. They would do like a preliminary cost estimate so that we can go ahead and start that process, because that's a totally separate process with the finance.
Yeah. One correction in something you said. I, for one, did not disagree with all of the designs. I saw nothing wrong with the second plan that was presented, where the service building, portion of the building, is hidden behind the administrative portion of the building. The only thing I didn't like about that design was, I think the front could be dressed up a little more, which I think probably would involve minimal changes. So whatever design is agreed upon, I would like to see the difference in cost between that version that was presented to us with an upgrade of the facade and whatever else they might come up with.
Do we have like a ballpark of what this is gonna run in total? 2.5, 3, 1.5?
They originally estimated about 3 million.
Okay.
Good question.
Yes, sir.
Do we need all of this space that this campus is on? Does it make any sense, for example, to sell a quarter of an acre? I'm making this up. Is there any market for that? It seems like the most valuable piece might be this one because it's on Union Cemetery. Is there any logic to that? Or is it too small and maybe it doesn't make sense?
No, we don't. I don't think we have enough room now as it is. No, we do have a piece across the street we could sell. We own that piece directly across the street with all the trees on it.
Yeah.
So
Has
we
that
could
been
sell
brought up?
that.
How much is it, an acre?
Yeah, it's about an acre.
Yeah. Okay, I know what you're talking about. It's right there. All right. Well, it seems
Has
like that's
sewer.
worthy of discussion.
Yeah, it has
Acre?
sewer now
Brand new
because they
sewer.
extended the
Yeah.
sewer from the street down here. I forget the name of the street. Is it Commerce? But they extended it from Commerce down to our lot.
Really?
And then we were assessed $12,500 for that. And then we had them put in a second tap so that we could put the sewer in for this building because we don't have sewer at this location. We have a pump and a grinder.
Wow.
So we would like to get rid of that.
Okay. So maybe we throw that on the table, right? Sell
Yeah.
land that we're not using and, okay. Good, that's exciting.
I mean, I think the idea of whether it's with one primary design and then with a few options, I think getting something where we can see a range of costs, I think would be a good idea. So whether that's two design, I mean, maybe it's not cost effective to take two designs and say, let's go to the next stage with both of them, but at least understanding where we have some flexibility in terms of the finances, I think would be good versus saying, here's one plan and whatever you come back and tell us.
Well,
the
maybe
cost,
another way to
that's what
look at
is.
it, Pete, is just to say, here are two concepts that would be about the same cost. What do you like? And kind of like you were saying, Joe, dress up the front. Well, there ought to be a way to do that,
Mhm.
right? Okay. Does that make sense? Phil, that's your business, man. What are you thinking?
I'm interested in what they come back to Kim on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see where that is.
Is Bill all in on this as well?
Yeah,
Pittman?
Yeah.
Oh, he's got to be thrilled.
yeah.
Well, let's don't forget what was driving this. It was a new parks building, maintenance
Maintenance
building
building,
with wash bay and the whole bit.
Yeah.
We said this building doesn't meet ADA standards and so on and so forth. Here's an opportunity to combine the two, and that's where we are.
Is that gonna be, those bays and all that, will that be in this building or will that be separate?
It'll be part of it. So if you
Yeah,
look at
it'll
the
be part of
other,
it.
did I send the schematic around that I?
Yeah.
It's in here.
So if you look at it, I doctored it up. So basically, it would be, the entrance is at, it comes at a 90. And then the back part of that, I just expanded it and made it like the maintenance building in the back with the 8 bay doors on it.
Okay, so move
That back here.
behind here, yeah.
I'm not crazy about that because I don't want to have 8 doors, but
Oh, I bet Pittman
And
loves
the-
it though.
This is only
Who
one
doesn't
He-
want 8
level?
doors?
what's
Or is
that?
there a basement, or is
It would
this
just be one level.
one level?
Well, they can.
Yeah, some
Where's
of
the
them.
restroom?
Yeah.
Are you gonna have a competitor to Norton or bid it out?
Oh,
Already
showers,
sole source of-
We could do it either way. We could bid it out and obviously end up with the
Is that from
lowest,
the street?
most responsible bid.
Union
Or if
Cemetery's
we
like-
just go with Morton, we can do their whole process, like own, design build.
So that's the bed.
And then they go out and get a number of bids and they do all the work for
They're
us.
actually-
Credit for that or
Yeah.
something?
Yeah.
Tax credit or
I
something?
just think just, not to say like go cheapest, because you always get what you pay for.
Right.
Like at least making sure it's comparable.
And we have to remember whatever you're quoted right now, take into consideration timing, because materials will increase in cost.
Yep.
So you have to take that into consideration.
Well, and I figured too, with when they start building that bridge in Cincinnati, everything's gonna go.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Well, certainly from the peak.
Yeah.
Comes and goes like oil.
I think they're putting contingencies in contracts. My father-in-law does a lot of stuff like this. And they said that they have to do that now just because the wild
Yeah.
swings of.
Mhm.
Where is Union Cemetery on this?
Yeah, that's a good question.
So that's north, so Union Cemetery's gotta be, I guess it's like, kinda like this.
Over here,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
right here.
Yeah, we're coming in like that. Okay, I get it.
This would be,
Yeah.
okay. Good job. What's your?
Okay.
Like I said, I just quickly sketched that out. That doesn't mean that they can fit everything where I said they can fit it. I'm not an architect, so.
It said sauna in there. Is that
It did. You're not supposed to say anything.
Clubhouse.
Maybe.
Strike that.
With a little dressing up.
You're up.
Any other questions or input?
That's great.
When did you expect to have information back for the refund?
They told me the end of this week.
Oh, the end.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll be able to share a lot more by our next meeting in February.
Okay. And by that meaning, it'll still be before we get into the stage of how are we going to fund it? How much do we pay up front? How much are we financing?
Yeah, that's why I'm hoping to have, that's why I've already started Andy working on the numbers. And hopefully we can have all that information to present at the next meeting.
All right. Okay, if nothing else, I think that's closes old business. In new business before the budget discussion, I wanted to just offer to our new finance committee members, if you want to do and say any introduction to everyone. I think other than hearing your name, I haven't heard anything. No obligation, so if you don't want to, we can skip it, but I thought I'd just leave that option for you.
Am I the only new one here today, or?
No.
Okay.
Two new
We should all,
Yeah.
We'll do it all together.
We went from 5 to 7, so.
It's a whole orientation.
Yeah, I mean, if it helps you as well, we can also kind of give, 20-second bio, so you learn a little bit about where we're coming from.
No, my name is Carmen Ellis, I'm new to the committee. Thank you for having me. Joined because I'm interested, I love numbers. I was a finance and contract manager previously before I moved here to Ohio. I was on a budget of 240 million, so I enjoy numbers and buildings and things like that. So when the opportunity arose to be involved with the community, it was a grateful opportunity to join. So currently I am a project manager. I run a team of 21 people. We work in network infrastructure and sell insurance. Life insurance, all types of insurance that you need. So I'm here, and anything that I can do to help increase our community, I'm for it.
Thank you.
All right.
Good,
Excellent.
thank you.
Welcome.
All right, good evening. My name is Matt Crane. I have lived in Cincinnati since '99. I've been my neighborhood president for a number of years. I turned that awesome job over to somebody else. Just saw this come up in the newsletter and thought, hey, this is a good way to get connected with the township and see if I could bring some experience that I had with that to bear. And I'm a good backseat driver, so I'm like, why not see if I can help out. 3 kids, 2 are in college, call these the 4 years, and 1 still at Sycamore, so thank you all for
Glad to have
having
you.
me.
I'm a backseat driver too.
All
so.
right. You got your own little thing going. That's right.
That's why we're right here. That's right.
In the sidecar.
Birds of feathers flock together.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
All right, good. So let's move on to new business then, and I'll share a little bit of background here. So starting about 2 or 3 meetings ago, we went to a process where we used to kind of just get the budget file sent to us and then sit here and pepper questions at Kim and Joe, and it didn't work very well because they didn't always have a chance to provide all the information. Sometimes we were kind of discussing it on the fly in our follow-up. So we went to a process that you saw where I try to collect all of the questions by email in advance. So I gave everybody a chance to send those in. I pull those all together, share them with Kim and Joe, and give them a chance to answer them. Some of them are specific. It's, what's this line item? What is this for? In those cases, I share the answers back with the committee members who ask them and usually close it there. If there's anything that comes up in those questions that the committee members want the rest of the committee and anybody else present to hear, we have that time now to go through any of those and have discussions. Or if you had questions that came up, since the time I sent the email, this is now the time where we can ask any questions on the budget, open it up for any discussion that we've got. What I suggest, I'll start. So I'll go through a couple of the questions that came up before that I think make sense for everybody to hear, where there's, maybe a bit more happening. And then once we're through those, if you raise the question and you want to bring it back up because you're not fully satisfied with the conclusion, feel free to do that. I guess the first question is one you raised earlier on Parks Manager. I know we had a conversation before where you were thinking about where to go with that. Same, I didn't see it anywhere in the budget, so just curious what the latest status on that is.
As far as I know, we tried to hire somebody. First person turned us down, second person turned us down, and I think it's kind of dead. I haven't had any direction to revive it. That's all I got.
What does Pittman want to do, for example? Do you guys know, or was this his idea to bring someone else on, or does that report to you maybe? Did I read that?
No, it was the trustees' idea. We saw the need. We've expanded our parks and all that effort and so on, and never really had a good master plan. And that was really what we're driving towards, trying to find somebody who's capable of coming in here with new ideas and so on. Sustainability, maintainability, all these kinds of things, get a budget for multiple years, cost these things out, and be more progressive in that endeavor. We posted the position, and we had, three applicants that responded. We interviewed all of them, of course. There were 2 that were, one was highly qualified, one was qualified. We offered it to the best candidate we felt, and I think that person used it as a, let's get a raise where I am, because he's decided to stay there. We then went and offered the position to the second most qualified person, and they said, no, we've changed our mind, we don't want to do that. So there's a limited, right now, limited canvassing we can do. To get somebody, we think we're going to have to rely on word of mouth and go talk to people, tell them what we're really looking for, and maybe somebody from Hamilton County Great Parks and so on and so forth who has these kinds of experiences, and then we'll repost it. That's kind of the thought we have.
And then simultaneous to that, we've had a few, not many, but a few residents who have voiced an interest in helping out in one way or another. One in particular mentioned that she has park master plan experience. So we haven't really vetted those folks yet, but it's certainly worth, checking in with them, maybe getting the group together, maybe forming a committee. I'm not sure yet, but that's better than not hearing anybody.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you know, I think it's one thing to build a park, it's quite another to maintain it, right? Just like a house, right? We build a house, we move in, now there's this maintenance element to our budgets that we have to acknowledge, so.
Yeah.
I think it's nice that we're addressing it. Let's face it, we all like the parks, and we need more help to plan and repurpose and
Yeah.
maintain, et cetera.
You kind of struck I mean, coming up with a master plan is needed, as Kim said, and Ken. And maybe we have an avenue to do just that, but then we still haven't solved the issue of who's gonna do the work.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
so,
Are there any current employees that could ascend to the position?
Yeah, seems like an obvious question, but good point.
No.
well, potentially, but that would,
We would have done that. We would have done
Well, I mean,
that.
with training or with time?
You never know, that's why we're asking.
Yeah.
Yes, with training and time, there might be.
Or with the person helping out that's a community member, if we vet that person, could they be the architect and the person could execute the plan?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it's still an open item you're pursuing, it's not something you're closing the books on, just waiting until you can find the right candidate.
Yes.
Okay.
The post has been taken down for the time being, or remains? With that, I noticed, there was a list of plans and programs for maintenance. Have that been submitted? Have we received any information of other areas where maintenance items or the list of plans and programs were budgeted, like, for the year provided? Did you receive any?
I gave you a project list. So there was a project list, it's like, I did an Excel spreadsheet and it's got 3 pages.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's all our projects for like all our funds.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, as far as, are you talking like other like special events and things that we do in the parks that we pay for?
Well, no, it was just saying here in the notes that Mr. Bryant wanted to see a list of other plans and programs, possibly as comparison. So I wasn't sure if there was a comparison that was required that was built for this position plan, or was it something that needed to be created?
Or was that looking at, like, example master
Right.
plans from
Exactly.
other park
Yeah.
districts?
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So right now, we're going into the winter months, so hiring is probably not gonna happen between now and the year. There's a lot of people that, if they have any kind of bonus opportunities, they're gonna stick with it for 2 months.
Yeah.
You know, you may wanna just fire this thing up after the first of the year.
Mhm.
I would assume the hiring that takes, I mean, my experience hiring now is taking a really long time. Like, you have to put the seed out there and you start getting your funnel of candidates in and start talking to people. So while they may stay firm, but they might, get them in the pipeline, look at what they've got and what they can offer, and then they start in January, February timeframe. But and it's just everything seems to be really slow.
Mhm.
Who's in charge of the hiring? Who's the go-to person for hiring for this position?
The three trustees.
So nobody's on point.
No.
What do you mean? What do you
Actually-
mean by
actually,
that?
Kim is
I mean,
on
I
point,
do all the,
right?
I do all the,
She's on point.
I do the work, but I give it to them to make
Yeah.
the decision.
You know, you're talking about
Like
decisions, we make the decision as
Yeah.
to who we hire. However, the process is that we have to generate a list of qualifications, what we're looking for in pretty much detail. We publish it and then look for people to respond.
Okay, so Kim's in charge of the process.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I make contact with everybody. I set up the interviews and then work with them
Right.
to, we interviewed all these people at the same time and then then they make the decision on how they want to proceed.
And you guided the process on the work description, the position
Yeah.
description, and
Yep.
you guided the process with the advertisement and
Right.
everything, yeah.
And we did through all the resumes that we got. You know, you put them in piles, like yes, maybe, no.
Do we do like
So.
Indeed or places
Yep,
like that?
I
Okay.
did all that.
So you've done all, so, yeah,
Mhm.
just the way the market is.
Yep.
I guess this is a word of mouth opportunity you have to go through, like people who know people who know people.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we put it on our website, we advertised it in the Enquirer, we put it on Indeed, we put it on OTA's website, we put it on the Park and Recreation's, like,
Okay.
thing. Yeah, we did all that.
No, you only need one, you never know when it's gonna come.
Yeah,
You need a
true.
job at 22 years.
Boy, we
so-
thought we had one,
Yeah.
really.
I don't know where it is.
Just lined up right for what we wanted. And they said, no, I don't think so.
Do we
I'll
know
stay here."
anybody that, any cities or municipalities that have done a really good job at this? Not that we would steal them from them necessarily, but do we know anybody that we could look to as kind of a shining example?
Sure. Great parks right here,
Okay.
Cincinnati parks, even the Cincinnati Zoo.
But anybody further out, like Dayton or anywhere in Indy, anywhere in Kentucky, that, like, again, we can obviously cast a little wider net to
Yeah.
see
Mhm.
what's
Well,
available out there.
from the publishing of the job description that we're looking for was OTA, that covers all townships throughout the state of
Oh, it
Ohio.
does, okay.
Yeah, that Ohio Township Association
Ah.
is what it is, OTA.
Newbie, sorry.
Thank you, that's all right.
Did you receive any feedback of why they said, nah, not right now, or not this opportunity? You found it to be fitting, but why didn't they find us to be fitting? Did anybody express that back?
Yes, they, I think the first guy, he was hesitant because of the way we had it structured.
Okay.
And the second person said no to the way we had it structured. Yeah.
Because I was just wondering, do we need to make any adjustments on our side to pull in and grab them and keep them?
When you
But
say
it
the way
sounds
we
like
had it
it's-
structured, you mean the reporting line?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
It's an evolving situation in the sense that we right now are structured with a public works department that's split into two pieces, roads and maintenance in that direction, and the other one is parks, and we kind of have a supervisor in each of those, or at least a point person. And then there are other workers who work, but they're all cross-trained, and depending on the need of the job, the public works director can move people to help here or move to help here. For example, snow plowing. We take them out of the park and snow plow, or vice versa. Take them off the roads and put them in the parks for mowing or something. So it's one person controlling manpower, and we're going to have to fix manpower for parks and so on and so forth. And we're looking for somebody to come in and be the head of that side. Okay, that's kind of where we were.
Okay, but what part of that structure did they object to?
This person would not have any employees.
Well, we did hire employees.
One, a part-timer, but they didn't like the fact that everybody was still working for the service department, and then he would be the only employee in the Parks Department.
Yeah.
That's what they objected to.
What were you hoping for brings that person in, had it been the one that we really liked, was we gave them basically a 3-month assignment of coming up with a park master plan, because we're heading towards winter. And then it would be an implementation and the funding and all that kind of stuff would fit that plan going forward next year. So we're behind. And we would backfill more employees in the park side to help this person implement. Okay, that was our plan. They didn't like that.
It's understandable, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? All right, next thing, we had a couple of committee members noticed in the general fund a pretty big increase in, I think it's called special events. It's, I guess, related to the bicentennial celebration. So
Yep.
I thought it might just be helpful. I don't know if we need to go through all the line items. I shared what you sent with the people who raised the
Okay.
question, so they saw a little bit of it, but I just thought it's a pretty big event. It's a pretty big outlier. It might be good for all of us to hear about it a little bit and see if we have any thoughts to share on the way we're going about it. So maybe if you want to just talk us through the plan and timing and all that kind of stuff, I think it'd be helpful.
So normally we budget around $22,000 in the general fund for our events, for yoga, for like our Halloween candy, Operation Santa, and just miscellaneous other stuff. So because next year we will turn 200 years old in January, the board decided that they wanted to hold 7 different events over the course of the year to celebrate the event. So in April, we would start with a fishing derby, and these are all going to be like the second or third Saturday of those months, except for there's a couple exceptions. But in April, it'll be a fishing derby. In May, it'll be the grand opening of Seven Gables Park. In June, it would be Heritage Days in Camp Dennison. In July, it'll be our big celebration, the Bicentennial Blast is what we've kind of named it. In August, there will be an ice cream social / movie night. In September, we're gonna have farm days at Mead. And then in October, we're gonna have a 5K race at Home of the Brave. So I kind of put tentative values with all those things. I don't know if the board's gonna agree with the values I did, but I was just quickly trying to jot down what I thought might happen. But Luann is working on a bigger, since she's our special events coordinator, she's working on like trying to drill down, you know, exactly all the costs. But then I also added like, you know, for the Bicentennial Blast, I mean, we're gonna need a stage, we're gonna need a tent, we're gonna need toilets, dumpsters. We have a couple bands that we have budgeted. We decided we were gonna do historic videos that we're gonna post on our website. We're gonna do 4 different types of videos. We have one on the castle. We're gonna do one on the Mead House itself, one on the Ross log house, and then the other one is on the Waldschmidt house.
Okay.
So all of those different videos will be posted. We're gonna have games, we need to advertise. We're gonna have a photo booth, balloon like sculptures and fireworks. So I put a rough cost to those things. The bicentennial ones, the ones that are listed under where it says bicentennial and then it's a list, those are the ones that are set in stone. Although the games, I just put a round number of 10,000 because I really don't know what kind of games we're gonna do yet. I was hoping to do something different than we do at all our other events, but you just never know who's available, who's not, you know, and we're gonna have.
Supplemented by businesses sometimes that are in Symmes Township.
What's that?
They're supplemented sometimes by businesses who donate to Symmes Township or, you know, sponsorships or things like that.
Yes, the board did create a committee at the last meeting, and the committee is going to work on drilling down all these events and putting costs associated with them. And they've been tasked too with trying to get donations.
Correct. It could be less than even what we estimated.
Yes, we still have to appropriate the money because it doesn't matter how much you bring in, you still have to appropriate it because it comes in and it goes out. So you have to account for it going out.
It's hard to appropriate it if there's bad weather or things get canceled.
True, true.
It's good to have.
And then will there be revenue? I assume we'll have, you know, vendors and other things going on. Is there any way we get some of that to offset costs?
They didn't want to charge anybody for these events, so then the only way we thought to get around it is not have booths, but maybe just have food trucks. So we've asked food trucks to commit, and we have about 14 to 15 food trucks so far. We could ask other businesses in the township if they want to come, but then we would have to figure out like how much would we charge for a booth space, you know, obviously because we'd have to provide them a booth, but we were trying to not go in that direction, but.
So we would have food trucks come for free, or they would pay a fee to have space?
No, they would come for free, and then people would just have to pay the food truck when they walked up to order the food.
I think you'll get good turnout. I know people who run food trucks that pay a lot of money to go to some
Yep, they do.
festivals and events.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You gotta go where the mouths are.
Yeah. And they had a big music festival on the river. I think they were charging like 10,000 to a food truck to come in for a day.
Really?
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, there's a constant line of people the whole time, but
Still.
yeah.
The event sounds great.
Yeah, my only observation is, in light of what just happened with the Loveland School District, with the additional taxes going through, people are going to be very sensitive to expenditures. And I think the board should be sensitive to that. You know, I just looked at it as a huge, huge ticket item. And I always question need to have versus nice to have.
In a rising cost scenario, I think the free aspect is really nice for people. But I think I'm with you, which is and I work for a software company, we offset every event we do with tons of sponsorships.
Yeah.
So like, you know, who can we partner with? On the fishing side, can we bring Cabela's? Could we bring somebody else into the lure company? Anything to offset, like bring that cost as close to zero as possible.
And that's what the committee will look
Yeah.
at.
The food truck idea, I mean, they will pay, the food trucks will pay to come in. You know, I don't know if there's 10 food trucks and they each pay $3,000-4,000, you know.
Even if it's 500 or 1,000, just
Yeah.
something
The
to
freezer
narrow it
bars,
down
right.
and say like, okay, who really wants to be here?
Right.
Who's gonna put it, you know, who's gonna put in the effort to make their money back on their investment versus anybody can show up and just be like, okay, I've got a few things here.
Yeah.
So.
Great events though.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I mean, I think looking around at, I've been to a lot of the events in Symmes Township and they're great. When you look at some of the other townships around, they're doing things on a bigger scale on a regular basis, and I think it generates a lot of excitement in the community, a lot of participation. I think it's a really good event. That would be my only other suggestion. And I'm sure the committee can go talk to Montgomery about Bastille Day and Blue Ash and Sycamore and see if you can pay. I'm sure there's people who have been running events like this for years that would have other ideas about the best way to go about getting some of these things.
Okay.
All right, the only other thing I wanted to bring up from the questions before, Kim, maybe especially I thought since we have some new committee members, if you can just kind of talk through, there are some questions about the revenues and why some of the revenue projections went down. And I think the answer is basically you get told, here's what to put in there. But I think in terms of that and how you build the budget and what you have to do with appropriations, maybe you could just spend a couple minutes explaining that, because I know when I first came on, I would ask questions like, well, why did this number go up and down? And like, then I think once you understand the requirements around what you have to do, that might help everyone in the future. So if you don't mind spending a couple minutes just talking through that.
Well, I can tell you what has happened in the past, and I don't understand it, so I can't explain it. All I can do is like, even if you just look at the general fund. In 2019, we received 580. In 2020, we received 581. In 2021, it jumped to 637, 932. In 2022, it jumped to 643. And in 2023, it jumped to 652. But not all of our funds do that. Usually I try to like estimate 1% in increase, but some of them, we were like 50%, $50,000 less than what we budgeted. So I'm trying to think of a good example. I think maybe one of the park levies was like that.
And you're saying, Kim, you're struggling to figure out why the variance is at it. Couldn't be as simple as the COVID thing, right?
Yes, but to me, like, I know, like, okay, so say you levy 1 mil and you know what 1 mil brings in. Technically, you should receive that same amount year to year with a few exceptions. Like we can't expect everybody to pay their taxes every year. I mean, even though I know it's required, but still you're going to have dips and valleys in that, but it doesn't, I know you get new money with new construction, but I don't know how much that contributes to it.
And there's a reassessment that's already gone out.
Right.
So that should be raised out of this neighborhood.
Which is probably if you look at the difference between 2019 and 2020, that is probably a big difference in why the money went up, is because that was a reevaluation year. Because you do it every 3 years, and the big one's every 6. So we would have had that reevaluation in 2020, because now we're going through it in 2023. So that makes sense for that. But then we jumped huge from 2021 to 2022, and that I can't explain. But then there were other funds that we got less. So I don't know. All I know is for the new people, the way it works is we estimate what we think we're gonna get, and then we have to send all of those numbers to the Hamilton County's Budget Commission, and then Hamilton County's Budget Commission comes back and tells us, no, we don't like this number, we're not gonna use, we're gonna use this number. And this year they did it, last year they did it where they dropped everything 5%, and then they did it again this year. They dropped everything 5% below what we thought we were gonna get.
They actually dropped it more than that.
Yeah, it dropped more than that too, but that's what they told me in the letter. But-
Who is it in Hamilton County that you're talking to? Who's the person, who is doing this?
I don't know who's on the Budget Commission. All I know is I submit all our information to the county auditor, and then the county auditor staff takes it to the Budget Commission, but I don't know who's on the Budget Commission.
So I explicitly asked the Hamilton County auditor why these numbers would drop like this, and they couldn't explain it. So my question is, who do we talk to? Who do we follow up with? Because when you take a budget like Rossi Parks goes from, we brought in $504,000 this year, and they're telling us we're going to bring in less money next year? Why?
Yeah, that's a perfect example of one. See, in 2019, we got 533.
Yeah.
Then in 2020, it dropped to 503. Then it went back up to 515. Then in 22, it dropped to 496. And then this year, we only got 504. And then the Budget Commission is saying 492,767. So
The Budget Commission consists of the county auditor, the county treasurer, and the prosecuting attorney. Or
Oh.
representative.
there you go.
That's
So
the
elected
prosecuting
officials.
attorney's fault. Here we go.
Well, some person is
job,
making
sidebar.
that decision.
It's what he just said. It's the 3 of them.
Well, they should be able to explain it.
But they're 3 elected officials.
I understand that, but specifically, who is it and what is the explanation?
He just said the county auditor, the county treasurer,
I got
and the
that.
prosecuting
And did
attorney.
they explain why?
No, we don't get an
Well,
explanation.
we should ask that.
So Kim, you're saying you just got a letter in the mail?
Yeah, we just get a letter saying, here's your numbers. You can't, we don't like your numbers, we're gonna
So,
use these numbers. But I don't
mean,
know where
I-
they get, obviously, they have to go through a process. And there has to be some mathematical formula spreadsheet that they put the numbers in, and it spits it back out and says it's gonna
Mike,
be
you got
this.
names attached to those titles?
Maybe we stick Joe
I
on
can
that.
tell you the names, are all elected officials.
Yeah, it's Bridget Kelly
Did you vote for
is the
them?
county auditor.
Jill Schiller
For
is the
re-election?
treasurer,
Yeah.
and Melissa Powers, who's our
It's the
county
prosecuting-
prosecutor.
So Bridget Kelly, who's the other two?
Jill Schiller, county treasurer, just got elected, and Melissa Powers.
I think,
Appointed but not elected.
Just got appointed.
the only add I would make there is if we go back, I'd be more interested in looking at what we actually received and where we received less and ask those questions, which to me is probably more interesting than if they tell you, oh, put this in for a budget. It's like, great, if you want to give me a conservative number in a budget so I don't overplan my spending and then I actually get more money, that's fine. I don't necessarily think we have to, have a beef about that, but if we have some funds where it's like, yeah, we got less than we got before and we want to understand why, I think that's a good one to start to understand what is it about property tax collections, why do some funds do different things? They should all move in the same direction generally if our property tax revenues are what they are. That's
Yeah,
our
I
primary
identified-
source from a lot of these funds.
There's 8 of them that went down more than 5%. And I think we're entitled to the answer to why. And one of them is not the general fund.
My guess is I don't know if people just aren't paying their property taxes, or I don't know. I don't
that's
know.
happening.
And it could
Each one of
be,
those is a levy, right?
Yeah,
And the millage is fixed.
it's already there,
Yeah, it's
so
fixed.
somebody has
So
to
it has
answer
to
the
be
question.
property
why.
valuation or something that's changing.
Right. I think
That
we're
would change
entitled
the
to know
numbers.
the answer to the why. In writing.
So
Not a-
there's
not
a
a
regular
phone.
meeting that happens, the last one was on October the 17th. It says regular meeting, room 304, 11 o'clock at the County Administration Building. Present was Jill Schiller, Melissa Powers, and Bridget Kelly to approve the 2023 amended certificate of resources for the various taxing districts.
That's fine, they approved it, but I still want to know why. And I think they owe
It's
it
a
to
public
us.
meeting, so we have to figure
Just
it
say,
out.
well, they should just be able to send us an email with how that came out.
Just
I'm not
explain it.
disagreeing.
Yeah.
I
I'm a
would
little
start with
concerned
the,
too.
I would start with the auditor's office. I would call the auditor's office and have a discussion with somebody that probably feeds Bridget the information for those individuals to make that decision. There has to be some spreadsheet that they're putting the numbers into, and then it's some sophisticated program that's spitting back out the results. I can't believe it's just, in the air. It's gotta be
If you look at the
Input
website,
A and
there's
you get B.
PDFs for a lot of different counties. And it says Amberley, it says Deer Park, it says Forest Hills, it says Longmont. You can go down, it's on the website.
That's fine. I just want to know the why.
I haven't seen Symmes yet. I've been looking.
I'd be concerned too that with the latest sizable increase,
Yeah.
we can't sustain that, 22%, 34% type every 3 years. Like, that's not sustainable going forward. So at some point, it's gonna level out. And what's it gonna do to?
Well, we've got the
Funny.
levies already approved. We voted on them, they're approved, the millage is in there.
Right.
So how do you go from this number to this number? I don't understand it. It doesn't make common sense.
Again, I think, if I take Parks, which is one of the ones that they dropped.
Right.
We budgeted a higher amount and they knocked it down to 547. If you look at what we've received, the last 5 years has been 514, 518, 551, 560. So
Right.
we're receiving more, what we're actually receiving is going up.
Yeah, it's going up a little bit each year.
So if I could,
Construction or something is driving slight changes in numbers,
Yeah.
or upward trend,
Yeah.
yes.
Then why would they take the budget
Rick,
down?
do you want a phone number?
that's
I
to
got a
me,
phone number for you.
I've got a phone number that I can call. I'll make the phone call.
946-4210.
But I think we've talked about this before. You don't want to overestimate either. You want to underestimate what you bring in every year so that you don't over appropriate or over budget.
Right.
So
So-
that's what we try to get, that's what we try not to do here. So we don't want to overshoot the moon and only get the lake. I mean,
yeah, that's where my point is. If I read off the numbers of what we've gotten and those numbers are going down, then I'm with you. We'll carpool down there and say like, hey, why do
Right.
we have a levy with flat millage and somehow our money's going down? If it's like, well, yeah, we want all the townships to be conservative, so we shave money off in the budget, but then they actually get what they get, and that number is steadily increasing. It's like, okay, doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense. I don't like it, but I'm not necessarily gonna drive down to downtown and be like, hey, I don't like the way you set
Yeah.
these budgets, as long as it's not messing up our process of how we do planning.
It seems like a lot of what they meet on are school districts versus townships.
Right.
So,
I just think we're entitled to the.
Yeah. Okay, so I agree. I think, any recommendation of what we do going forward here?
Rick, are you gonna take that away and follow?
Yeah, I'm gonna make
All
a phone
right. Excellent. Thank you, Rick. All right, that is all I wanted to, those are the ones I wanted to bring up. This is the time where I'm gonna open it up for any other questions, any other points that any committee member wants to make on 2024 budget before we move on to the audit results. Anybody have any other points they want to raise? Larry's missing his big chance. I think this is where he was gonna stand on the table, but he missed it.
Kim, in medical insurance under Road 2031 and Road 2194, the budget went from 43.5 to 70 in both of those.
Yeah, if you take all the road department employees we have,
Yeah.
and then you split it, I take half of it out of road and bridge and half of it out of the road fund, or out of the streets and levy. So we got a 10% cost increase this year, and I budgeted for another 10% cost increase next year, this coming year. And then we also had, one of our employees is getting married this weekend, so he's gonna be adding a dependent. And we had a couple of new employees, so,
So we do have new employees.
yeah, we have new employees that had dependents.
Because it
So I
went
had-
from 86,000 to 140.
Yep.
I mean, that's a lot of 10%.
Yeah, I have a spreadsheet, so I mean, I
I'm
know.
just curious, it just jumped off the page, and I asked
Mhm.
about, are there additional employees?
Plus, don't forget too, we move employees around.
Right.
So some people might have more dependents than others because our health insurance is based on the number of dependents you have.
Right.
So if you have a family of 5, it's gonna cost the road department more than if you have a family of 2. And the way we move people around, I had to account for that.
Okay.
So have you ever had anybody look at what benefits we do offer, what we pay, to figure out kind of like, are we offering, for what we pay, are we offering the best? Should we do something different with the plan?
We have looked many times.
Yeah, I think the last discussion we had was basically, if you look at salaries, they're not super high, but the benefits are very good. I would say competitive with teachers, a lot, any other place like that. So I'd say it's a very generous benefits package. I think that's the idea is, you're not going to make a lot of money, but you also have some security and stability, and that kind of drives retention.
Yeah, I just
of your
think like, for
employees.
me, adding an
a lot,
HSA was
yeah.
unusual at the time when we brought it on, and it was like one of those things you had to evaluate. Just all the kinds of different benefits are always coming outside of state health. We had done that, so.
Yeah, no, the benefits programs, is generous, so it's.
Yeah.
and
We
just tell me
actually,
if I'm
we
saying
actually
anything you
switched
disagree
from
with.
HSA to HRA so that people didn't pocket this stuff and keep going.
Yeah, I noticed that. That was an HRA was new to me, and I had to research what that was. And you
Okay.
guys keep the money, essentially.
Yeah, well, we just don't spend it.
Right.
Yeah, we have to budget for it.
Right.
Yeah.
But the HSA, my HSA goes with me. So
Right.
If I
Yes.
leave, it goes with
Right.
me. Your HRA stays with the employer.
Right.
So, yeah. Okay. Mhm.
Anything about that? Larry, you missed a chance for any questions you had. You good?
Good, yeah.
Okay.
I still,
Oh,
Yep.
yep.
You guys
Uh,
finish that.
Kidman Parks, other rentals. We've got revenue for this year of 2,800.
Yeah, you gotta add all the line items together. So I added it up, it's like $43,470 is what we got this year. We were
Okay.
trying to split it up to see which
Got it.
ones, like if you go down, see it's all 802, 001, 002, 003, 04, 05, and 06.
So it's not in the same place.
Yeah, so if you just add all those together, plus what we put into HOB, it adds up to almost 44,000.
Okay. And my last thing is on the Fields Herbal TIF. What's going on with that?
We did not get any money this year, so.
So,
It hasn't been approved at the state level.
Yeah, the Department of Taxation still has not approved our application for extension, so we got 0 money.
so who's on point on that? For follow-up?
We have followed up.
Well, who are we talking to?
We talked to our state rep and she called the Department of Taxation for us. She hasn't gotten anywhere with them yet.
And when did they say we might get the money?
I don't know. It's all dependent on when they approve the application.
Or if.
And there was a problem with the application?
I just know the Department of Taxation is not fast on anything they do. So anytime you do a TIF, there's usually a 2 to 3 year waiting period that you're not getting money.
Well, that was the missing ingredient right there. Holy cow.
Yeah.
And how long have we been waiting on this already?
It's about a year that we submitted it. I think it was last November.
Which was just under
We
the
had
deadline.
tried to get it in
Yeah.
before the end of the year last year.
And is that a one-time or is that an ongoing?
This application process?
No, the payments,
It's supposed to be for a 15-year period.
once they approve it.
Yeah, once they
Once
approve
it's
it.
approved,
Yeah,
They-
but we
they pay
can't,
it- They pay it twice a year?
yeah, so we get it twice a year, but I mean, we can't make any payments to anybody if we don't get any
Right.
money. So any money that we did not get this year went its normal route. So we would have gotten our money in our other levies, the county would have gotten their levies, the schools would have gotten their levies, there's no money due to anybody.
Well, it
We
goes
have no
without
idea.
saying what a lousy system that is. All right.
Kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez. Okay.
Can a trustee call the taxation department and maybe raise it to a higher level?
Well, how many are like Symmes Township? There must be dozens, right?
Yeah.
Hundreds?
Well,
Dozens?
no. We had a
Sitting and
15
waiting
we
on
had a
TIF?
15-year TIF that was renewed, and we finished the 30 years. And then with certain other stipulations and changes in the law made by the state legislature, we could extend for another 15 years. We went through all the hoops. One of the hoops is we had to have 15,000 residents to qualify. We just made that with the last census, okay, which allowed us to extend and so on. But there are other restrictions in there, so we filed them all, had sign-offs from all 3 school districts, namely Sycamore, Loveland, and Great Oaks, okay, where the difference was that we used to keep a lot of the money from the schools, and with this new extension, this 3rd extension, all the schools were to be made whole, okay?
Yeah, that's how it
So they
works.
would have got theirs, and we would have got ours less,
Yeah.
and so on.
Yeah.
And it has not been approved by state level yet. We had specialty attorneys working this for us.
Ken, I don't think anybody disputes our end of it. All we're doing is waiting for someone else to make a decision that should take 5 minutes. Like, that's crazy to me. All right.
It's not the way it works in Columbus.
I know.
They're not excited to pay money any more than anybody else is.
Jeez, it's just, we're missing out. I hate it.
Well,
And everybody else, not like we're the only ones. Of course not.
No,
There's
yeah.
gotta be lots of people waiting for them. Wow.
Yeah, I think though when we did this TIF in 1991, we didn't actually start receiving any money until it was either 93 or 94 when we went through it the last time.
It's been like this for years.
and by the way,
Yeah.
when she said earlier that we might have $500,000 towards this new building, okay, from TIF, that was the old TIF, the money we still have in the account, okay?
Well, that's not the new,
No,
because 28% of 838 is a pretty good chunk of money.
That's what we bring in each year, so
Right.
we would keep roughly 28% of that, and the other 72 would get dispersed between the 3 school districts based on their millage.
Is that 250?
235. I mean, a couple, 3 years of that, and that's gonna pay down a lot of this
I
building.
think there's a misunderstanding on here. I'm talking about money that we had, that we collected on TIF
Right.
before the second 15 years expired.
Yeah, no, I
It's still in an
understand.
account,
What I'm talking about is
He's
this.
talking about new
but we
business.
haven't got any of that.
Right.
I understand.
He's
but
just
what I'm
saying in the future, if
Oh, yeah.
we build a new building, we have another, hopefully another source of
Yes.
235
Okay. Now I
grand a year.
understand. Thank you.
Rick, we're missing 250 a year. It's costing
Yeah.
us
For
250
15 years,
Right.
Yeah.
until it starts, but
that would
Yeah,
pay,
once it starts, yeah.
wouldn't that pay for the building?
Better, I would hope so.
well,
Unless there's a big pool behind the
yeah,
building.
we got
that
$1
they
million
show us
sitting
in
there, so
drawings.
the 2 million that's left sells land and. yeah.
$3.5 million
Yeah.
over
Uh-huh.
15 years.
I mean, I think that's a question when we get into the financing. I mean, those, I'm sure we're gonna get some guidance on term of loan, if we wanna do a loan and all that kind of stuff.
They will,
and
they'll
then
tell
we
us,
can
they'll
factor
tell
that
us if
in.
we want to do a 10-year loan, or if we want to do a 5-year or 15-year, and you can't go past 15. I forget the name of the type of loan you have, but once you go past the 15-year, then you have to do a different process. So if you go 20 or 25, then you gotta do something different.
Okay. Rick, anything else? All right, let's
Kim,
close.
thank you, by the way. I mean, this process now is much better.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Used to be for 2.5, 3 hours.
Yeah.
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 Mike puts us under time.
Yeah.
We have to perform.
We all got things to do.
Mike has meetings always right after this ends, he's gotta get to. All right, good, well, let's try to finish up.
And that was some new members too.
Yeah.
And that's why no one told me how long these things run.
I didn't run a meeting.
Hey, you'll be home by midnight.
There were some that were 2.5 hours for sure.
Yeah.
So I think, I know it's a lot of work, Kim, as well, so thank you for taking the time before the meeting. I mean, you're providing, for people who haven't asked questions before, I mean, there's a lot of detailed work going in to make sure all our questions are answered, and it's very thorough, so it's much appreciated.
Yeah, and if for the new people too, I mean, I know you guys probably have a lot more questions, but you can always call me and I can explain it in, bigger detail, because you haven't been here to hear it all.
Thank you. My first thing was, am I holding it the right way? Is this
This match, whatever it takes.
Yeah. You would get about 7 times more paper. Let me tell you, okay?
Put them on the wall.
It wouldn't even fit into this. It'd be 7 of those things.
Yeah. All right, last thing on the agenda is audit results. Ken, you want to, or Joe, you want to take us through?
It's not been released yet.
Oh, really?
No. We had a meeting this morning. Was that today or yesterday?
Today.
Today, yeah. It's just a follow-up question and answer with the auditor to review a couple of things we got dinged on. And basically, most of it boiled down to,
Bookkeeping errors.
yeah, bookkeeping.
Yeah.
Everything was fine financially, but how you moved ARP money into a fund and out of a fund and that sort of thing, which they themselves corrected for us. But other than that, it was just a clarification call and to make sure we didn't do those errors again. So.
A lot of it was just when we moved from, when we went from OTAS to the UAN, it was just misclassification of numbers because we didn't know what type of fund it was, and they have very rigid numbers for different funds, whether it's a fiduciary fund or a special revenue fund or the general fund. There's numbers associated with that in the UAN. And it was, especially like the cemetery bequest fund, we didn't know what it was, and when I called local government services, they told me, oh, it's 9751. Well, when I put it in as 9751, we got audited, we got dinged for it, because they said, no, it's not 9751, it should be 2042, and I went, okay.
Just change the number.
Yeah, and so that, it's just things like that. And I think there was a, what was it, something about the special improvement district, like the energy one, the 2901.
The pass-through.
Yeah, the pass-through one, it's not a bond, it's not a note, it's not a debt. That's our debt. So I had labeled it as a note because that's what it's labeled as in the loan documentation. But it's not our debt, so we can't label it as an 801 or a 701. So it has to be labeled as 599 other. So I'm like, okay. So it's just things like that I gotta fix.
We should probably table that for the next meeting.
Yeah, so I think as soon as they issue it, I think,
Yeah, as soon as they issue it, I can email it out to you
yeah, I was
guys.
gonna say, if you want to email it to everyone, then we can all have a look and just.
Yeah, she said it should be in a couple weeks.
The question part and see if anybody has any questions, and if not, we don't have to go through it again. Okay.
I'm sorry, I did have another question.
Yeah.
I apologize, I'm looking for it now. So at the bottom of one of these spreadsheets, it says there's additional park levy needed in 2024. So in the Parks tab, we're going to need an additional levy for parks. We will need to put one on the ballot in the spring of '24 to collect in '25. Did I miss this conversation, or did we talk?
Nope, you're the first person to bring it up.
I think
What's
we're
going on?
looking at what the need is, so that's a flag for us.
So it's kind of like that stuff we talked about before. It's one thing to
Well,
build a park, got to maintain it.
Yeah,
It costs
we're
money to
expanding our
maintain it.
parks, we're doing a lot more in the parks, we need more manpower and what have you, and so on, so it's part of that plan.
So is that
We see that the spending is going up and the residual is dwindling, so you're gonna have to do something. Either
Park
go out
levy.
and get donations from
Park levy.
businesses and so on and so forth, or somehow we're gonna have to fund this, or go to the public and they tell
Not
us,
this year,
no,
in the coming
we don't
years."
wanna do that anymore, so we're not gonna give you any more new money. Vote down the levy. But
So-
I don't think
So
anybody
6
sitting
months
up
we're
here
gonna
wants
throw
to
it.
do that,
Yeah, that's the thing.
okay?
Man,
But
So-
we have, it's a flag for us to keep an eye on that.
no, okay. Okay, what's that, Ken?
Okay, well, I'm gonna give you my spiel because if you look up here, those are the numbers that are all
I can't see that.
encroaching.
So what tab is that, Ken?
That is the comparisons tab. So if you look, those are the ones I have flagged for, remember how we had this discussion about how we wanted to have 50% of the fund value for the next carryover. These are funds that are below the 50%. So I know that nobody probably agrees with me, but I'm just gonna say my spiel and you guys can have your opinions about it. But as the person that looks at all the bills coming through, there is a lot of maintenance expenses that we have and they're not getting any cheaper.
So roads, parks, and cemetery?
It's the.
They're highlighted on here.
Yeah,
but
the
not on
gas
paper
tax.
version, probably.
The cemetery fund, both
Rosie's, the
parks.
Rosie's coming down?
Yep, both parks levies fund, and then the road levy, the 2193. So,
I can still see it.
okay, you're good. I can't.
So you're saying all those
So-
with the negative variances?
Those are less than the 50% carryover
Okay.
that we discussed that we would like to have. So, and the reason for the new people, the reason why we have to have carryover is because townships only receive their money twice a year. So we only get it in April, and then we get it again in like September-ish, October. So when we get that last collection in October, we have to be able to pay all our bills going into the next year into April.
Right.
So we have to have carryover. It's a necessity. So we have decided that we didn't want to drop below 50%. So if we have a $500,000 budget, we really should be carrying over to at least $225,000 going into the next year.
And Kim, on this spreadsheet, just to be clear so everyone follows along here, you're saying half of the expenses for 24? So if you look at the gas tax for 51,400, the first one that's yellow, you're saying, we're all in agreement here of, we're trying to get to 50% of, I mean, look how different the gas tax revenue and expenses are.
Yeah, and the reason the gas tax money has gone down is because we had huge expenses for vehicles that we had to replace. So we replaced 2 dump trucks, and then of course everything got delayed because of COVID, and then we ended up having 2 trucks on top of each other because of the way everything got ordered and the way it came in.
Well, the way it came in, really.
Yes, and the cost went sky high, where we used to pay $150,000 for a truck, now we're paying almost $250,000.
But it's this
So I
one.
mean, these are huge differences in
one
cost. So we're seeing the same thing with the parks. It seems like everything, it's coming to the point where there's lots and lots of things that need to be replaced. Like we've got these 25-year-old parks, and you can't have a playground. I mean, 20 to 25 years is the max for a playground. So you have to start budgeting, okay, we have to replace that, and playgrounds aren't $50,000 anymore. They're a lot more than that. So, and it's the same, like, on that project list, there's a lot of projects that we have to do in the parks, and we don't have any money to pay for the projects anymore. Like, there's just not any more money. We just barely have enough to operate. So, and that's why in the 2171, and by the end of 2024, we'll be down to 154,000
Right.
when our revenues are 657. So, I mean, you can see.
Half though, my original question was, are you talking half of revenue or half of expenditures?
Half the revenue.
Okay.
So,
So that's what's
The-
flagging it to, I'm just, okay,
Right,
I got the
and
system now.
but if you also scroll down, keep in mind, we have other levies other than the park levy that we
Right.
have. So if you look at the bottom where it says levy schedule, we have 2 levies that are gonna renew in 2025. So the reason I was pushing the park levy to 2024 was because I don't wanna put 3 levies out all at the same time in 2025. So we'll have our road levy, the 0.4 mils is the renewal date's 2025. And then we also have the safety services levy. We're not gonna need it can just be renewed for the safety services levy because we have plenty of money in that. But we might need to bump up the road levy too, to maybe like, I don't know, another 0.1 or 0.2 to get us through the next 5 to 7 years. And then, we have this parks levy. So you really can't, I just don't think you can push it back to 2026. So then you end up having to push it forward to 2024. And then plus we have to be mindful too that the schools compete for the same money that we're competing for.
Yes.
So I don't want to interfere with their levy schedule either. So, and then next year, the bad part is, it's a presidential election year. So the primaries are not in May next year, they are in March. So if we do anything, we have to do it at the next trustees meeting. which really sucks.
How did the trustees
But-
feel about this, trustees?
Well, obviously, I just heard that they're not happy about it, so,
Well, is this being talked about? I mean, that's why we're here.
yeah,
It's probably a lot better to do it in March than the general election.
exactly my thought.
If you're
So-
gonna do it, you need to explain to the taxpayers.
Absolutely.
which
But I also think that that's when Ken talked about the master plan, I think that's why the master plan is so important, that we need to have this list saying, okay, we want to do these projects, and we also have all these maintenance items, here's what the money's going to pay for.
Kim, what can we pay, what, if anything, can we pay from the general fund? Because the general fund is very healthy, we're over 100%.
We have been paying, we paid out a lot of money this year in the general fund for the parks, but the problem is you don't want to dwindle it down to the point where you can't pay for what you need to pay for because nobody wants to pass an operating levy.
That affects your bond rating.
Yeah, so you want to keep money in your general fund, but push everything else to your special revenue funds.
Yeah, no, I get that, I'm thinking like in a pinch, what can we do?
We did that this year, in a pinch this year, yes, we paid a lot of stuff out of the ARP money, and then we also paid stuff out of the general fund.
So Pete, for new business, we're gonna have to take a look at that probably the next meeting.
Yeah.
For the parks levy in March, are you talking about a renewal or an increase?
It's a
This
new
would be
levy.
a new levy because we already have a continuous levy on the parks. It's a 1 mil continuous levy. We would probably need at least a 0.5.
So just
For ex-
understand
for
that
ex-
everybody who lives in the local school district, they're gonna get their new tax bills before March. It's gonna be a sensitive topic.
Pete has to leave. See ya.
All right.
And to be
We're gonna pick
clear,
another meeting date?
Do we have one already picked?
No, we have to do it for next year, so
Okay.
it's February, February,
Let's do
June,
that
and
now
October.
while you're here.
point of clarification real quick. So we're talking about,
We're talking February?
we got this new, all new levy in the spring, and then that's 24, and then
We
we
do
have
February
2
14th.
levies coming due, 3
Valentine's
coming
Day?
due in 25.
I don't have to go around.
Now, those would be renewals, right?
2 and
Those
25.
are renewals.
Those are renewals.
Those will
Do
be
we need to do it-
renewals.
Do we need to do it early, given this parks thing?
Okay,
When-
so
when-
yeah,
when
so
would
that's
you
seven,
think it would be
that's
best to come
24,
back?
And then the 2 and 25.
To,
2 and 25.
in early
The
February?
road and the safety, right.
But the thing is, if we
Still,
are
October's
doing a
30,
park
this would
levy
be 24.
in March, it has to be, like, the trustees have to talk about it at our November meeting.
Well, okay.
Wow. Should we do January?
Yeah.
What about January 24th?
Well, it's too late. You have to submit everything 90 days in advance. So if the primary is March,
So we need to have something in December.
Yeah.
no, tonight. That's what I'm saying. It's a bad timing on everything. Because I thought we were gonna have time to discuss it, and because the primary is being
They have
moved
time,
to
I have to
March.
leave. They can
Oh.
discuss on whatever they want to. I mean,
And we will.
I think we will. Should I do a proxy vote?
I'll be here.
Any dates, Mike, we need to avoid in February, January, if we took a Wednesday? or
If you guys want to keep talking, then I'll see, I can be available.
I like the old school briefcase, man.
I try to look the part.
That's cool.
I mean, February 14th is Valentine's Day, but I'm available, but. I don't have a girlfriend, so we're a wife, so. We do it a Thursday.
If you want us to also not have girlfriends, then let's do it on the 14th. and you
February
can run it.
15th is a Thursday. We do a Thursday.
I'm okay with February 15th.
Thursday, February 15th?
Sure.
All right, let's capture that as,
I don't coach as much as I used to, so it's
yeah,
good.
that helps, that helps.
At 6
What
p.m.
was our cadence
6
last
p.m.
year? We did 3 meetings, right?
Yes, we did February, June, and October.
Yeah,
Should we just put those in our calendar now? So we
That's
don't
fine.
trip all over them?
Good word, cadence. Way to add that.
I had a meeting, a board meeting this morning, and that word was actually used when we were scheduling.
We were doing that.
yeah,
Swiped it from
yeah,
those
we,
guys?
yeah, the last few have already been scheduled.
What about June
I think we're out.
19th? Well, that's a holiday, but, June
Yeah.
12th?
June 12th?
June 12th works.
It's June 19th.
Juneteenth.
That's
that whole new
Juneteenth. We have a holiday that day.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I'm I'm almost always out.
And then what was our next one, October?
October, yeah, right.
Mike,
where
we're
we are
on June
now.
12th, right?
October
June
16th,
12th.
June 12th, okay.
I can't
October
do,
16th?
I can't do the 16th.
October 9th. I think that's when this was originally
Yeah,
supposed
let's
to
do
be.
that.
Yep.
Yeah,
October 9?
October 9th.
But are you always gone? Because you said you're always
No,
gone.
that
the
was
week-
just,
Oh,
no.
okay.
The last 2 weeks in June, I'm always gone.
Okay,
What are we doing in June, by the way?
We're doing
June
June
12th.
12th.
June
And
12th.
October 9th?
Yep.
If you need me, I can do a proxy vote by phone.
I'll take your proxy.
Okay. All right.
The last thing I'll say is if we need to have a parks levy, we might need to do it. But I think we have a pretty tight budget typically, and we're historically a good township for keeping costs low.
Wednesday, June 12th.
Yep.
So,
And we really have tried, but like I said, when you have parks that have been in operation for 25 years and you've got many parks, it seems like every little thing is coming up all at the same time
and we
anymore.
really have, in my opinion, the best township parks, if not in Hamilton County, at least on the east side.
I agree.
Kip, you need to submit this to the county by when?
So it's a
I gotta go.
two-step process.
So yeah,
When you do a levy, you have to pass a resolution to ask the auditor to certify funds. So you say, what's a .5 millage gonna bring in Symmes Township? And then they're gonna certify that amount, and then once we get that amount back, then you have to pass a second resolution to actually put it on the ballot. So the problem with us is, our meeting is the 14th of November. The auditor will have money or a resolution back to us, like a certification. And then our first meeting in December is,
You're not talking about our meeting.
no, trustees meeting. So the December meeting is December 5th. So we would have to decide either on December 5th or kick it to January 2nd, because you have to submit all levy requests 90 days in advance, which is January 4th.
So could you give us a heads up in terms of what dollars you're looking for, or what the dollar amount per 100,000?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. It would be December's. We might not be able to make it.
You're talking about December 4th for March 4th, right?
Let's see, the primary is what, March 5th? Because it's always the first Tuesday after the first Monday. So March 5th, so February 6th? No, January 6th. So it would be due to the audit, or it would be due to the Board of Elections by December 6th, so we would have, yeah, we have a meeting on December 5th. So I know that scrunches them, but otherwise, we would have to put it at the November election.
So from a timing standpoint, when do the tax bills come out?
I think Hamilton County, it's what, December?
In our
Yes.
hands?
Yeah.
Due by the end of January.
About the third week in January, and June, maybe fourth week.
Okay, so third week in January. So when do you put out your Symmes Township newsletter?
Oh, we
put
usually
out a
don't do it.
monthly electronic one,
Yeah.
but the other one's kind of 2 to 3 times a year.
Yeah, it doesn't go out until like
Yeah.
April.
So the question to the committee is, when do the trustees alert the taxpayers? Do they do it before they get their bills in their hands in January, or after?
Or
Forget about it, man. Yeah. Don't you think that's too early, 3 months?
Hey, guys, we're sitting here. What if we wanted to delay this for a year or two? Do we have money in investments and so on that we could pull out and use $500,000 a year for 2 years?
Ken, you talking delay the new levy spring
Yeah.
24?
It doesn't have any-
Not do the new levy, but pay for it out of what our investments and so on are. Why don't we look at that as options?
But then don't you still have to replenish?
Not necessarily.
We're talking.
I mean, we built up
$100,000.
this money, whatever it is, 6, 8 million over years. We can-
But your investments don't have anything to do with the amount of money that you're receiving in the park levy.
forget that. I'm talking
I
about
think what he's-
using
yeah.
investment dollars to pay for stuff that we need to pay
Okay,
for.
that's what I just said. So investment money does not go in the park levy. Investment money goes into the general fund.
Agreed.
And we just talked about how we can't let the general fund get depleted.
But we're talking about taking investment money and pumping it into the general fund
To use for parks.
to use for parks.
Kim, I think everybody in this
I
room
mean,
is scared.
we're just
to death.
talking about
Yeah.
timing here.
Yeah.
Of
Okay.
spending some money, cashing in some of our investment, $500,000.
But it doesn't matter what you cash in because it's all in your appropriations balances. So if we have these balances, so we have $10 million sitting in the bank right now,
Okay.
okay?
All right.
And it's all distributed in different funds.
Okay.
We also have $8 million in investments. It's the same money in the same funds. Those funds make up that difference. We're just taking a pool of it and putting it over here, but it's really in these line items, if that makes sense. So if our spreadsheet says we have $2.8 million in the general fund, we have $2.8 million in the general fund. We might not have 2.8 in the bank account because we might have $1 million of it over here in savings or in investments. So it doesn't matter if you cash it in.
Okay, so we have no money order to tap, is what you're saying.
We
It's
have
all-
We have-
we can tap as the general fund, or if we
The
can
park.
spend it on capital, we can use TIF, right?
Not for parks though.
Not for any capital?
Nope.
No, there's no capital equipment?
No, it has to
Nope,
be
not for parks.
general purpose usage in the area and so on, right?
It's only for infrastructure.
Yeah.
We go back to something Ken said just a second ago. So Ken, what you're asking is, can we tap some of that investment money? What
Yes.
the investment money
I'm
is.
not talking about long-term, because you've
Understand.
depleted.
I'm just trying to get the clarity so we all understand this. The investment money that you're talking about, Kim, you're saying is the money that's right here in the balance.
Yeah, it's the
There's
same
not-
money. It's,
Right.
yeah, it's
like
not,
there's- I'm just
I
making
mean,
sure
yes.
Ken understands that.
It's,
because
it's in two different accounts, but it's the
Right.
same money.
The money is right here.
Yeah.
There's not some extra money,
No.
$10 million that somebody's gonna tap into.
No.
And
Because
yet
that
you
would
have to
make
decide
sense.
what fund, you have to look at these funds and say, which fund can I
Right.
get it from? There's a
All the
lot of them
money's
you
right
can't
here.
get it from.
Yep.
Yeah.
The general fund, we can get it from.
Restricted.
Just run the risk
They're
of.
restricted, yes.
Yeah. I
Right, but
still-
we also have to
yeah.
keep in mind too, we have to pay for a building. So
Yes.
like, you can't just keep taking away the money and then you have no money to pay for a building.
I would say my only suggestion is, I think it's always better to do things when you have time.
Yes.
To think it through, map out exactly what you want, and this feels rushed, which I
I
don't wanna-
agree, I'm not
I-
disagreeing. It's just
I
next
don't know
year,
if it
it's just
feels-
kind of,
I don't know if it feels that, much of
first-
a crisis for me to say we need to do it right now. I think, we have some money in the parks.
Okay.
We have a good balance in general fund. If we need to use that for 6 months or a year while we get there, I know in 2025, we don't wanna put two things on, but,
There
it also
already
feels
are.
like making sure we communicate to everybody and have everybody's input and really figure out what do we think we need and how's this gonna map out. I'd rather look at some of those projections like we did with the safety services levy to make sure, and on that one, I think we probably, we ended up with the inflation ended up being a little bit less than we thought for a period of time, and so we, kind of looked at it and thought like, okay, we learned from it. I'd rather take the time to go through all that than to go fast. Recognizing the risk, I
It's gonna be a
appreciate
time
recognize that.
because,
yeah.
that-
I gotta tell you, there's a lot
that
of
is-
taxpayers out there who are not happy about what happened with Loveland School District. And you start throwing out levies
Yeah.
right away,
Yeah.
what happens if you put a levy on in March and it gets voted down? What's that gonna look like?
I don't think anybody up here wants to put out a levy.
I
At
think
all.
We can all agree on that.
Yeah.
That's what we're
Ever.
saying here.
I'm just saying, be sensitive.
Well,
Right.
You can't get-
I mean,
We don't wanna put it out.
maybe we
Yeah.
have to be
We don't wanna pay
more,
unless we have
maybe
to.
we have to be more judicious in what we're doing in the parks and only do the maintenance items and so on until we
Amen.
can build it up.
Amen.
Okay?
Yeah.
Well, Pete, there already are two on
Yes,
the
we
ballot
do.
for 25, a renewal
Yes.
and an increase. So that's
Yeah.
two, plus we're talking about a whole new one in
What-
24 in 6 months. Of course it's rushed. It's the first time I've ever heard of this.
What
Most of us,
increase,
yeah.
Larry, what increase are you talking about?
I'm looking at the
Increase in
roads-
25 for
roads,
the roads 2 levy.
and then a
a
renewal.
month.
Well, that's a renewal.
Yeah, but we
Renewal
will
plus
definitely need an
increase.
increase.
Okay.
It
It's a
might only be a
renewal.
0.1 or a 0.2, but we're definitely gonna need,
Yeah.
to get us through 7 years. We
Yeah.
also have to keep that in mind, is anytime we ask for money, we have to make it last the 5 or 7 years that we're putting it on for.
So,
Which we
yeah,
didn't do 5 years ago, apparently, to pay for all this park stuff, if we're gonna do it.
Right.
Well, and going back to Ken, what you were saying, I think if you look at this as, long-term, what would I do to really see it? You could go through communication to the township on, our parks are 25 years old. We want to do
Right.
a lot of this work. Here's examples of some of the things we've done. We resurfaced courts, we added a new playground. These things, if we want to continue to maintain parks at this level, we don't have enough in our current fund to do it, we will need to increase the levy, put it out there, float it out there, get a chance for people to, I don't know what people would say. I think a lot of people that I know would say, this is, it's kind of nice, we want our parks to be nice. If that means we have to pay a higher levy, you get a chance to get that feedback and kind of see how it goes, and then know what the right thing to do is. Now I feel like it'd be a little bit of a blind, like, all right, let's put it out there and hope it passes.
I don't disagree with you, it's just the timing stinks
I know,
on
I know.
everything.
So-
I mean, because it's a presidential election year, and then the next year we have other levies that we have coming up, so there's not, well, I guess there's never a good time.
There's not, Ken,
And
but does
nobody
the
likes
tru-
increase.
Yeah, do the trustees, do we all even have I mean, we can see it on here, but is there a timeline of the next 10 years or whatever, saying, all right, we got these 2 at 25.
Look, we've got this-
Yeah, I've got
she's
it out.
she's
I've got it all the
table
way
here at
out
the bottom
till-
with the
Did I miss it?
comparisons.
Let me ask
You
another
go to
question.
I'm on it, I think.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Comparisons levy schedule?
Yeah.
I'm saying,
Yeah.
like, for the next 10 years, what are we looking at after?
I
So
can,
that's what you see,
Yeah, I can put
first
another
floor levy
column.
is 20, you can see it's every
Pete,
7
that's just
years.
these 3 though, or those
Oh,
4?
yeah, yeah,
That's all
yeah.
I'm saying.
That's,
Or that's,
That's
those
it
are the only
stretches
ones we
out.
have.
those are the only
Besides
ones that are on
general.
the ballot.
Yeah, those are the
Every-
only ones we ever have to,
Yeah, everything else is already
so you're right, I'm
continuous.
sorry, I was too far to the right. I see it now, thank you.
So we have fire levy that's continuous, we have a police levy that's continuous, we have a parks levy that's continuous. So those you'll never see because they're just automatic for forever and ever and ever.
Okay.
However, those effective rates continue to decrease every year.
Yes.
Because you have a certain effective rate and then over time it decreases. And it's because the millage increases in value as you go forward. So if you have, before our millage, like a 0.5 used to generate 300,000 or no, probably less than that. I'm sorry, like
Just use an example.
200.
Sure.
Now it's up to 300,000 because our 1 mill generates over 650.
Okay.
So
I get
it's
it.
gonna, as it increases, your effective rate decreases if that,
It makes sense to me. I
Yeah.
don't dispute
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I follow that stuff. I mean, that's
Yeah.
how these things, that's how townships are funded, at least this one
Right.
is. Okay, so,
any other input from the finance committee? I've said
Ken,
mine.
you were gonna make a point. What was it?
No, I asked Kim earlier, before this meeting, I said, these property reassessments, if you will, what's that gonna do to our income? Okay? I mean, hypothetically, if we go to the county auditor and we say, we need to raise $500,000, he tells us, oh, it's 4/10 of a mil. So we put it out there on the levy, 4/10 of a mil, and it raises $500,000.
right.
Okay? Now you reassess the property, well, if you're locked in at that 500,000, your valuation doubles, your millage cuts in half, right? You're only gonna bring in $500,000. That's the way the levy was written, to me. But not all levies are written that way. So I expect my personal property's gone up 36.2% on my recent reassessment or whatever. I hope I don't have to pay a 36.2% increase in taxes. I'm expecting maybe 10%. So if I have to pay 10% more on my own property taxes, how much is that going to affect all our funds, our levies and everything out there?
Then you
Not
also
all
got-
of them are, but some of them.
You've also got the bill going through the House right now in the state.
Yes.
It's Instead of looking at the last year, you look at the last 3 years.
I thought it was instead of the last 3, you looked at the last 6, so.
I don't know.
It's
The
something to
house's
try and mute
It's not
the
through
rapid
Senate yet.
increase,
The Senate
yes.
hasn't seen
Yeah,
it,
the
so-
House's version is 3 years.
Okay.
But the Senate, it got kicked to the Senate, maybe they're having other discussions. I
They're
don't know.
having discussions right now, but that
Yes.
could impact something in the future as well.
Right,
You know, we don't know. I mean, my home went up 47%.
okay,
It was like, holy crap,
yes.
I should have sold the damn thing.
Then they'll buy what?
Yeah.
But then I'd have to buy something.
Yeah.
That's right, that's
Yeah.
exactly the problem.
There's a lot of square footage of the new building coming.
There you go. I saw a shower, there's showers.
Yeah.
Sauna?
Yeah.
Is there a sauna there?
It's
Sauna's
my
just if you
home
turn the shower on
personal
high
sauna.
and then you stay in.
Truck wash bay.
That'd work.
Get
Walk
clean
slow.
quick.
All right, so the bottom line is the trustees are gonna decide soon whether or not to go forward with this new levy in the spring.
Well, I guess,
That's what it comes
I just
down
heard
to.
from those two, no.
You're hearing it from everybody in this room, no, but
So,
that's just
And
the
to
point.
Pete's point, I mean, we need to think through this.
Yeah,
Yes.
I couldn't
Yeah.
agree more. I think if we were to come up with a recommendation,
No,
which is what this committee is.
I'm not in any
about,
big
yeah.
hurry to
Of course not.
throw this thing out there to the public and,
Yeah.
um,
I mean,
I think it takes a year of work, at least, of educating the public that, hey, this is what we see, what do you think?
Well, here's another point of view though. If we're doing this big party next year, right, the Bicentennial Blast, great name. Here's all this attention on parks, and then it's kind of oh, by the way, in 25, we've got this stuff coming up again.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
why-
of course, we
That's
can't
why I was
talk
looking to
there
push it out to
talk
get
people
some separation.
Yeah.
and Educate them.
Separation
Here's,
from
Yeah.
here's all the projects we've
Yep.
done. Have you guys been to the
Right.
parks? Have you seen it? This
Yeah.
this
That's my
what it-
point. There's your year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right.
I think that's
Yeah.
it. I think
It's a
that's
good
it.
opportunity.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was
Okay.
that's my last question, Mr. Pete.
So, so I suggest we put that on the agenda for the next meeting, assuming nothing goes forward between now and then.
okay.
Maybe we can look at the projections, kind of double click on some of the projects, Kim. I know you've got the list of projects out through, you go out through 2020. How far do you go out in the parks?
Nice job on the tape.
There's some out there beyond 2024, but maybe we can take a look at that and expand a little bit. Here's all the big projects we think we want to do in the next several years, and then do some math on, if you can help us with the math on millage, and we get an idea of like, okay, what might we do if we wanted to do it, and then in parallel, we can get feedback and kind of see how this goes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the short term, we can prioritize if we say, hey, in some ways, it might not even be that bad to say, okay, we had to cut back on this because the fund is running low. If somebody asks, we say, well, here's the situation. We've got a lot of parks and costs a lot to maintain it, and we're trying to figure out how to pay for it all.
Well, you want a new playground or you want a new dump?
See?
Well, for us, it's gonna be, we might have to cut back on how many times we fertilize. Like, we already cut back on how many times we fertilize. We might have to just eliminate it altogether, and maybe our grass won't look as nice. I don't know, it's just
We can
a,
charge more to the teams that rent the fields. We can tell them, hey.
and we
sorry,
do,
it's- yeah.
we're increasing that number. And then we've also increased all our shelters fees. We'll do that at the next meeting. But other than that, we don't really have a whole lot of extra, revenue that we get that we can make up the difference. Because usually it costs us about $100,000 to maintain all those fields. And we don't get, we don't even come close to getting the money to pay it for it all.
Probably nobody does that. That's
Yeah,
one of those things.
Yes, you're right.
It's a community asset.
Right.
It's nice.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, things like that, we might have to just cut altogether. I mean, this year, we ended up losing a mowing contract and our employees mowed, but then at the same time, all our costs went up for maintenance,
Right.
mowers, like we lost 2 mowers, we had to buy 2 new mowers. Our gas prices went through the roof, so I mean, we did save in mowing itself, the contracted rate, but our maintenance costs went way up,
Yep.
so.
One last question. McCluskey's move, we get revenue from that when he moves out of the auto mall across the street, right?
Is he moving into JC Penney? Is that what
He's already moved 3 entities over there into that strip mall. He's moved HR, he's moved finance, and he's moved some other things.
Insurance.
He's gonna
insurance, yeah, they've already done the build out and they're moving
Yep.
in.
And they've
so
torn down some buildings that was on the property that they purchased
They
and
gonna
so
take
on.
the
It's
rest
behind
of
them.
It's my understanding, and you guys probably know this already, but they're gonna put the facade of McCluskey facing Montgomery Road with an entrance there,
Are we talking J.C. Penney or something else?
No.
yeah, where that location is.
Really?
That whole
No.
stripped area.
Yeah, he
even
owns the whole thing now.
No, the plan that we approved, that our zoning commission approved, the entrance is on Union Cemetery. Now, there will be an entrance on Fields Erdel and an entrance on Montgomery Road, but it's facing Union Cemetery.
Yes.
I heard differently.
Well, then they'd have to get it reapproved by our
understand.
zoning
I'm
commission.
just saying that, but my question is, when do we start seeing revenue from that? Do
We
have a
don't.
timing when that move?
The only time we're gonna see it increase revenue is when they tear down all the buildings and build new buildings, because then we're gonna get the new value. But if the buildings stay the same value, we're not gonna get any new money. We don't get income tax, so.
Maybe they can sponsor a park.
I guess it's somehow or another.
I've tried, I reached out, I asked. I got crickets so far.
Could we put their name on our new ad buildings? Sponsored by McCluskey? Or they could put a billboard in our front yard.
Cluster is currently in the auto mall.
I like it. I like
The
it.
king.
I think down the road, there is great
Symmes
opportunity
Township.
for him to
This
contribute
is not
because he has done that with other
big deal.
locales that he's been involved with. But I think they're really looking for the right thing at the right time.
Yeah.
And it's early.
Someday, if you look at this intersection, it's a big giant.
All right, I propose to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn, sir.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
It doesn't even need a second.
Yeah.
Should we call him, just to make sure? he-
Yeah.
7:40.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks, everyone.